New Zealand has one of the most extreme abortion laws in the world. It was passed last year. The politicians won't tell you just how extreme it is, but I will. Have a listen. So during the weekend, we had the online March for Life, and it was a chance to recognise the priority of the unborn child and also pregnant women in the situation they find themselves in and how we can better support them. And it was because of COVID that we couldn't march to Wellington and do it in person, so we did it online. And it was a chance to talk about the law, the radical law that was passed last year. So let's just remind ourselves of a couple of things about it. Firstly, it was voted in when we were all focusing on the COVID pandemic. We were locking down to protect vulnerable people. And while that was happening, the majority of the politicians were voting in an extreme law, which put the most vulnerable people at risk. And what the polling showed was that actually people, there was significant support for greater time limits on abortion. In other words, people didn't like late-term abortions. They didn't like the fact that it was even at 20 weeks. They wanted it earlier. And what the submissions showed were that 90% of people were opposed to the bill. So there was widespread opposition to this new abortion law because it was so extreme and so radical. So what law was actually passed? Well, let's have a look at it. It gives the unborn baby the same status as an appendix, gallbladder or tonsils. In other words, it's not a life, it's just a bunch of cells. But of course, science tells us completely the opposite. It is a real life. It allows for late-term abortions for any reason. Previously, it was only in exceptional circumstances, and this is right up to birth. There's no explicit duty to provide care for a child who survives an abortion, because remember, the intent is to kill the child. There's no parental notification for teen abortions. Parents are left out of the equation. There's no explicit law against sex selection abortions, even though the politicians say, tut, tut, they shouldn't happen. There's no explicit law against them. The fetal pain provision was voted down. In the Animal Welfare Act, vets have to make sure that animals don't feel pain. Not the case in an abortion. The new law removed the previous 20-week time limit for disability abortions, even though Jacinda Ardern promised that that limit would not be removed. And it watered down freedom of conscience rights for health practitioners. It's a very radical bill, and any attempts to make safeguards or to lessen how extreme it was were voted down. Now, there was a lot of hypocritical statements made during the debate. One of them was this one. A picture of the Greens campaigning. They've got the unborn child saying, vote for me. And this is the Green Party, of course, who were campaigning for increased access to abortion. And then you had All Rands, which was one of the lobby groups, saying, no babies are involved in abortion, it's fetuses. Well, go figure. Let's do some scientific research and we'll find that no, it is babies because it's an unborn life. And then whenever we raised the true effect of the new law and what would happen, it was immediately labelled as misinformation. And this was including by the almost to be Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern when she was campaigning to be elected in 2017. Have a listen.
I think abortion should come out of the Crimes Act. That does not mean for a moment that I'm proposing what has been claimed, that you should be able to have on-demand abortion till birth.
But we can.
That is absolutely not what I'm saying. We of course must regulate. We of course must make sure that abortion is safe. That does not mean keeping in the Crimes Act, but it will still be regulated. And I really would ask the people who are dispersing that misinformation to desist. It's really offensive.
On-demand abortion till when then?
They've said till 40 weeks at the moment, which is wrong. We have time periods already set out in law, and I'm not proposing changes to that. I'm proposing it comes out of the Crimes Act, Harry.
Yes, dispersing that misinformation. But of course, it was actually correct. Abortions can be had up to 40 weeks. Between 20 and 40, you just need the sign-off of the abortionist. And of course, they are going to approve it. So in effect, it is up to 40 weeks. The restriction has been removed also for disability abortions as well. So what has been the effect of the law? Well, let's have a look at the latest statistics that have just come out. Firstly, there's been an increase in abortions from 13,246, previously 12,857 in the previous year. 18.6% of known pregnancies have ended in an abortion, up from 17.7%. A third of abortions were a second or more abortion. More than 500 women were on to their third or more abortion. And there has been an increase in late-term abortions, a 45% increase, which is not surprising because remember, we've removed the 20-week safeguard because after 20 weeks, it used to be illegal to have an abortion unless the woman's life was in danger. Now, of course, that safeguard has been removed, contrary to the promises and statements of those politicians who accused us of misinformation. You know, we need to keep calling out abortion for what it is. It's the taking of a life. It's murder of an unborn child. We need to keep calling it abortion. They will try and mask it as reproductive rights. They will try and say that it's the right to choose, but it completely ignores the rights and the life of the unborn child. And so I leave you with this short clip that just says, keep saying the abortion word, keep calling it out for what it is. The science is on our side, and we need to speak up for the most vulnerable people of all, the unborn child.
The A word, it's nasty. When you're talking about whatever you do, don't straight up say what it is. Seriously, there are so many words and phrases you can choose to avoid being offensive. Why say when you can say empowerment? Words like coercion, killing, regret are not helpful. Just saying, stick to more uplifting terms such as self-care, healthcare, repro rights, or my favorite, choice. Brilliant, really. So simple and yet so void of anything truthful. Love it. Don't call it what it really is, because that's just too much. Nobody wants to think about that.